Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military veterans and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Faust, and I finally fixed my virtual living room. It's great. Only had to go over and get rid of half the garage to go over and fix this. So at least virtually, it looks like it has a lot of space. So today's lesson was going to be like a third element of authentic in the living room, but I thought to myself, I've been authentically pouring out for work and interviews, and I have another interview tonight, and then I have another planning meeting at 9, and I thought to myself, it's 2 days before Valentine's Day, so why not go over and review what we talked about the past couple of days, and if you guys have any questions, we'll stay alive. We'll do this for about 30 minutes max. I'll go over the content, and you guys can also ask any other questions that pertain to the living room and connecting with your family and whatnot. So let's go over and do some review. Maybe you didn't watch yesterday's episode or Wednesday's, and you can get a quick synopsis. So Wednesday's episode was talking about you first strategies, because when you are authentic in the living room, or you want to have authenticity in the living room, you have to go over and implement it first, because you as parents need to go over and implement it, because we can't expect our kids to be authentic. They have to learn that stuff. It's like the same thing as walking. They saw us walking and then they wanted to walk. As we go over and be authentic and we do it first, then they want to be authentic. So again, this is a review and then questions and answers. So if you put something in the comments, we'll pause from where we're talking about, and then you can ask your question and we will answer it live on this live. So we'll be doing this for about 30 minutes. So the first you first strategy is getting a bachelor's degree in your kids. We talked about this on Wednesday about you need to learn how your kid is motivated mentally, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. What's their on and off buttons? What is their values in that particular regard? So then you know how to be authentic to that child. Being authentic is not going to be easy, so it's learning about your kids. Why do they like certain things? Why is my son like Minecraft? Why is my daughter like Roblox? What is up with my daughter asking tons of questions and whys and whys and whys and whys? Why does she have to go push the line? Why does my youngest daughter, Hope, go over and barely talk to me no matter what I go over and do? Those questions for yourself need to be answered, and you and your spouse share getting that bachelor's degree. You can go use cheat notes. That's the great part about having a bachelor's degree with kids, because when you go to school, they're like, no notes, no closed book test. That real life is not supposed to be that way. So real life, get your cheat notes, go over and write them down, and learn to get that bachelor's degree in your kids. So that's the first you first strategy. Second one is sharing about your failures. We all have failures in life, and how does a person be authentic when they know that you've walked in the shoes of that person? So what have you done? What failures did you have as a child and as a teen and as an adult and as you're walking through? Are you still scared of things? Like, I have to remind myself that sometimes I get scared in the dark, even though I tell my kids to go turn off the light. I'm like, you need to go over and grow up. And I'm like, there's times that I'm scared too. So we have to share about our failures. We have to share about what we went through so they can feel vulnerable. They can feel that you're being vulnerable, and then through those failures, then they can be authentic. So as you're being authentic and real, to share about those failures. The next one is about being real, just calling right blank. If we go over and be fake and we put on a mask and everything is perfect and everything is fine, how are they going to be authentic? They're going to be like, you posture and mask, so I need to do it too. So in that particular regard, you might need to go figure out what mask that you're going on wearing. A good book to go and read is The Cure. So being real is key to go over and doing that. Doesn't mean you need to share everything yourself. Being authentic is the choice in what you're going to go over and share. And obviously, you shouldn't be sharing stuff in the bedroom first with your family in the living room, if you know what I mean. So being real. Next one is learn their love languages. There's 5 love languages. There's physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, and gifts. Usually each person, adult, child, and teen, have 1 or 2 major ones, and then the rest of them go down the track. And what typically happens is if you want them to be authentic and real, you have to connect with them in their love language. So sometimes it's a hug or a snuggle that goes over and brings authenticity, vulnerability, and realness in the house. Other times it might be words of affirmation. Other times it might be gifts, and it might be acts of service. So learning their love language, speaking who they are, will get them to go over and to be more authentic. Number 5, my personal favorite, is having Golden Girls cheesecake. So give me a thumbs up or a heart if you actually heard this reference before, having Golden Girls cheesecake. So if you can relate to me into my age bracket, even though I might look like 25, I'm almost 40. The bags don't hide it. But Golden Girls was a great show about 4 ladies that basically were either divorced or were going through divorce, and they started moving together. And anytime they had emotional or psychological or just roller coaster problems, it'd be the middle of the night and cheesecake and ice cream would come out. Sometimes to be authentic and to be vulnerable is to have those late night moments or early afternoon moments, or break the routine and break out the ice cream and just go over and connect. Sometimes it's going to be intentional and you go over and do it. Sometimes it's going to be happen on the fly. Like my son is typically the late night person. It's like has to be the last one that goes to bed. I know he's the oldest, but we have more of those Golden Girls cheesecake moments. We haven't had the cheesecake yet, but again, you want to not eat cheesecake too much because then you're going to be working off that cheesecake, if you know what I mean. So have those Golden Girl cheesecake moments. It shouldn't be every day because it'll not keep your heart at bay. Next one is visit their world, is going over and connecting in their world. Like, do they like Minecraft? Do they like Roblox? Do they like walking out, jokes, comic books, those types of things? And a lot of times we kind of sort of tolerate from 0 to 5, we let them be. 5 to 12, we tolerate. Once they become teens, it's like you don't even want to dive in. The thing is that how are they going to connect if you're not connecting with them? Dating and kid world works very similar. If you connect into their world, they'll be more authentic, they'll be more real, more transparent, they will share. Compared to you going over and be like, this is my world and this is your world and we're just going to be in a different world. Another 80s reference. Woo! So visit their world. And number 7 is being united front in the bedroom. So things you're going to be vulnerable, things you're going to be transparent about and whatnot. You want to make sure that both of you are on board. And maybe one of you are not on board, but the other one is supporting the other one being on board on being authentic and being vulnerable. And you definitely don't want to share your spouse's authentic and vulnerability moment stories as they shared with you without their permission, of course. So you want to be a united front in the bedroom. And if you're both going over and trying to be authentic and being real, and that's going to work way better than you just going over and doing it by yourself while your spouse is like, or the other one's like, yeah, sure, whatever. So be a united front in the bedroom. So that was Wednesday. So again, if you have any questions, this is a review and questions and answers. So if you've gone over and want to go over and ask another You First strategy, please go and bring it to the table. If you have any questions on how to go apply this, we'd love to go and bring that. And now that brings us into Thursday's content, which was yesterday, which was going over and having balance and going over and talking about dialing your authenticity and vulnerability and not putting it up too much or putting it up too little. So we talked about when is it too much and not enough. And too much, number 1, we talked about yesterday, is asking for advice in your bedroom relationship. That's a little too much. You're going over on how to better connect with your husband or your wife in a relational or a transactional or in an intimacy type way. That's dialing it too much. Unfortunately, this can happen when you and your spouse are not united in the bedroom and you're divided. And if you connect with one of your kids and they are more the emotional social type, they can sometimes tend to give advice too quickly in that particular regard. They don't earn the authority, they think they are the authority. I at least have one of my kids try to do that on a regular basis, and I have to wield it back. I'm like, great skill, wrong person. Great skill, wrong person. So us as parents need to go over and be unified. And when we're asking for advice, we need to go to professionals. We need to go to each other. If we are going to go to our parents and go over and ask as adults our parents in that room, because your living room could have 3 generations in the household, that you need to make sure it's more of a central device, but not as a divided advice. You're asking for wisdom purposes to grow your bedroom relationships. But again, no matter if it's kid or parent, usually you want to tread lightly on that particular regard. Again, wisdom information, great. Trying to get into the specifics of that bedroom relationship, that's too much to dial in, especially if one spouse or one parent is going to one child. It's going to be a really awkward relationship if you go over and you're asking for advice in your bedroom relationship. Number 2, sharing your feelings with the kids before your spouse. Mom, what if your wife would have offended you, or your husband would have offended you, and you go over and you don't have time to go deal with that, and now they're like, some kids that are more empathetic, feeling out, what happened? I want to help. That's great, but the thing is that if you're sharing those feelings with your kids are not supposed to be the burden of those feelings. Prayer, going over and making sure that they're taking care of themselves, great. But sharing those specific feelings with your kids before your spouse is going to be too much on the dial, and that's not a balance, because that's not something you want them to go carry in a relationship, that your kids are hearing about things before that happens. It can be a big disrespect or a non-loving issue if the kids know about certain things that you're sharing with them that you didn't share with mom. If you're doing secret stuff, like, hey, you're saying that you love your wife or love your husband, the kids share that, that's a positive thing about sharing feelings. But especially on the negative things of feelings, that should be shared with the spouse first. That's where divides happen, like sharing with your adult parents or your kids. Either way, because we are blended households, those feelings should be dealt with the spouse first as much as possible. All right, going to too much, number 3. And again, this is a review, so if you have any questions, we're going to be here until about another 17 minutes. So if you're watching, go over and do that. If we don't have an active audience, we're just going to kill it. So this is for you guys. So if you're here and you're wanting to learn and you have some questions, go bring it in the comments. If it's your first time watching on Facebook and YouTube and Periscope and Twitch, go over and click on the StreamYard link to then go over and add comments, because that's where we see the comments. So too much, number 3, is bringing your work problems home to the family. Who hasn't done that? I have done that. I was kidding. So one of those ones is that we have a lot of work problems. Sometimes work problems can come in because there's COVID now, and then you literally go out of the garage or out of your bedroom office or maybe somewhere else, and you're coming home, and those problems are looming. Well, when we go ratchet that up and especially bring it to the living room, and we don't have a proper safe place to go over and do that, those work problems now become family problems, and it brings stress to all people. Typically, the more sweet, sensitive the kid, guy or girl, it ratchets up even more. So those work problems need to have a safe place. That safe place should usually be your intimate partner. Now, if you have adult parents in there, you can share some of the grievances of work problems because they're going to be able to relate. But again, with the kids, it should be more for lessons and lessons learned and anything else than going over and just sharing your work problems, like blah, blah, blah. I even had to watch myself yesterday after I went over and had a conversation at the table, and I tried to share it as a lesson. I could feel myself trying to go like, ugh, and it doesn't work. So make sure you're utilizing those moments as teaching moments to your younger kids. If they're older kids and adult kids, it's a little more higher of a level, but again, your work problems should not just be coming into the family on a regular basis. They can help you go over and grow. They can help you go over and change. People can go over and learn lessons, get different perspectives, whatnot. But doing that on a regular basis, it's not well. You have to go over and learn with your spouse and also yourself to grow on when problems should be brought into the living room compared to the bedroom, compared to other places. Sometimes your fists need to go over and take those work problems out in a proper place, in a gym, working out. Don't take it the other way. Just want to clarify. So too much. Number 4, sharing with one family member, no matter if it's child or adult, compared to all and playing favorites. This can happen pretty well and pretty often. Most people don't want to admit this taboo, but we all have a favorite child or parent that we have. We naturally get along better. It's just the way it is. We naturally get along. And usually for this season right now, it's my third one. Come on, I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to be transparent here. I'm going to be authentic. My third one's the easiest one to get along with, so I can naturally go share with that one compared to the rest. And then as moments go along and kids go over and grow and change and morph, it usually does change and morph. It's like, you have friends for years ago, and then sometimes you're not as deep of friends. Well, the same thing happens in families. So we want to love everybody the same, but we like people differently than anything else. But if we don't control it and we allow our likes and our loves to go over and get blended together in a mishmash, we could be sharing it one compared to all, and they're going to be like, they're getting all this time and all mom or dad's attention. Then they're not going to want to be authentic. So now you have an imbalance on this particular regard. There's going to be times and seasons that certain kids or adults in the house are going to be struggling more than others. But the thing is, it shouldn't be the normative that they're always getting special time and they're always getting this and they're always getting that. That's when favorites come, and especially it's like kids are already going to do that naturally, but we as adults need to learn to grow and say, hey, even though we might like our favorites, we need to go love everybody equally. So that's sometimes too much. Now going to the too little dial to lower that down a little bit, because too little. This one's happened often with me early in marriage and everything else, and early with kids. Cutting off when you enter the door. You ever have one of those days? It's Friday. You forgot it was Valentine's Day. It's already stressful at work. I had one guy, it's like the server crashed all day, just overwhelming. When we're single, we just tune out. We cut off. And you're going to have those days that are really stressful days. You just need to go cut off. But if that's your normative, and that's what you're walking in each and every day, it's just like, I need to go to my man cave or my bedroom or to the tub and always have to detox, and you're never ready to cross that threshold from boardroom to living room and be emotionally, socially, spiritually available to serve your family, that's too little. Now there's times and places. Maybe you need to go get a workout. Maybe you need to go do a Sudoku. Maybe you need a half hour to go play a video game. Maybe you have a specific day that all that pent up energy gets taken out. For us as a family in the Faust house, it is typically Saturday that we all just get to detox. Saturday is our detox day. The kids get to go over and stream. The adults get to go over and do what they want, because it's me, my wife, and my father-in-law. So we have hopefully a fun challenge that we have for Saturday. As the adults, our kids are pretty much teenagers, so they can take care of themselves, at least for short periods. So we do that. We have our cutoff time. But if that's an everyday thing, husband or wife, or if you have adult parents in the house, if you cut off when you enter the door on a regular basis, that's not going to be authentic. That's not going to be real. We're going to check those comments real quick. All right. Brian's coming in. Oh, Brian wanted to give a mission update with the blessing of the They'll Tackle. We are down to needing 65 $22 things. So if you want to go support Brian Gibson, you can go over and connect with that. So, it's the same post twice. All right. So, yep. So I guess that was Brian's question/update. So if you want to go over and support this great mission that goes over and helps veterans transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom, a similar partner to us, you can go over and connect with Brian Gibson. Thank you for going over and sharing. And Brian, if you have any questions to go bring to the table, we'd love for you to go over and to do that. So thank you. All right, let's go jump back into that number 1. There we go. Let's go to number 2. And again, if you have any questions, want to go over and leave your comments. Loves are the best, just so you know, as the algorithm goes. So if you can put a heart out there, especially if you're coming on and joining us, we greatly appreciate that. because that helps us grow. Facebook Mastery, a class I've been taking. So if you can put a love out there, that helps us to get to more people and the message out there. Too little, number 2, is waiting for them to come to you. Have you ever gone over and said like, hey, come to me when you're ready. I'm always here. The door's always open. I have an open door policy. The military says that, right? The thing is that how many people execute that as an adult to go to the commander's office or the first sergeant's office or your manager or your supervisor? Hardly nobody, right? They don't go, hey, you said you had an open door policy. I just want to come in. Rarely happens. 5 to 10% of the population might even use it. I'm going to say 2, and I'm the rare 2% that actually leverages that. So don't equip me with an open door policy. I'm kidding. I'm more of a too much guy, but I'm working. I'm growing. But too little is waiting for them to come to you. A lot of the times, we do this as society, no matter if it's from bedroom, living room, boardroom, but we want to go over and balance that out. There's times that our kids need to come to us, and there's times that we need to go to our kids and we need to go and visit. We need to practice authenticity. We need to practice that we're emotionally available. We've got to practice that we want to be there and be involved. So we need to practice, because if we wait for them to come to us, it might be too late. You know, why haven't you called me, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know, cat's in the cradle, man. You know, it just totally destroys. So go over and balance that out. You know, do some vector checks on your kids, even if it feels awkward. That's how you build authenticity. You're gonna have to feel a little awkward. You're gonna have to feel a little awkward. And as parents, feeling awkward, I think, is the normative. So always challenging ourselves to go over and grow. We do it in the boardroom all the time. Hey, I want that promotion. You gotta start supervising. Say what? Well, these kids are going to carry a legacy in a lifetime. The people you work with, you know, you want your legacy most of your spouse and your kids. So balance that out. Waiting for them to come to you, little too little, balance that out. Too little, number 3, never sharing at all. You're just vulnerability and authenticity is caught, not taught. You don't go over and do it. They don't know how to do it. They go over and you wonder why. That when people go over and get married and then they realize 5 to 10, 15 years later, they say, I will never do what my parents did. So they're going to do all the things that are typically good, and they're going to do the things that are typically bad. They're going to learn some lessons, of course. But I realized myself, I was like, years 1 to year 7, there was things that I did that my dad did that did great. And I saw him doing that as a husband, and there was things that he went over and did wrong that I went over and did. So if you're never sharing at all as a husband or a wife with your kids in that life in the living room, then more than likely it's going to repeat. Not saying all. So there is anomalies, but that's a little too little, and we need to share in the right places. Now, obviously, time and space and all those other types of things are important, but we need to go over into know when to share and know when not to share. And too little, number 4, making them work for affection. This one I did in the early years, and I talked about this yesterday, is that I was in an angry rant stage for those times, and I wanted things to be clean and organized. I still do, but I put it in the wrong place. And I would give them more time and attention and affection if the house was in order. Yes, this is total prick moment going over and being vulnerable to you guys, but I did that. I made them work for affection. I did this from basically from the living room to the bedroom. So I didn't just do this to my kids. I did this to my wife. I was a total a-hole, you know, in that regard. From years 1 to year 7, I really had to get the clue. I'm like, I should be giving my affection freely no matter what they do. That's unconditional love. But I was realizing that I was like, I was doing more affection when they did X, Y, and Z. And that's too little, and that can be really prickish, and it can do an exchange mentality that if I do this, I'm going to get more of my dad's attention or more of my mom's attention. Don't make them work for it. Don't make them work for it. That's too little. So there's my vulnerability on the table. So those were our 2 lessons that we're reflecting on. Couple more key things. And again, we have about 5 minutes for questions. Actually, the whole entire time is for questions. So Couple last 2 points. And again, a comment goes over and we will engage it and go over and answer it. So we'll be here for another few minutes. So we all have moments of dialing it too high and too low. Well, I've done both. Where did I get these answers from? Things I've done or things I've seen. That's where most of this comes from. Things I've read, things I've seen, things I do. I try to teach from who I am and who I'm wanting to become. So we got to have our minds and our hearts engaged to adjust the dials. If we go with our hearts, we're tending to go over and go too low or too high too quickly and not think it through. If we go through our head and don't use our heart, we're not thinking of people, we're thinking of logic, and that's still wrong too. We got to combine the two and put them together, because guess what? Your heart needs your mind to live and your mind needs your heart to live, and they kind of go together. So we need to be making decisions together with both those in mind. And just a disclaimer, and this is also to me, just because we fail, me included, it doesn't mean to stop going over and trying to balance those dials. Love is a choice and love is a journey. So this is your synopsis of Wednesdays and Thursdays review on this. So if you didn't watch the first time, there you go. You got it all summarized in 26 minutes compared to 30 for just one episode. I basically saved you time and money like Geico. So we want to leave it open for questions for the next couple minutes. So if you guys want to go leave a comment, leave a heart, go over and ask a question, add some wisdom to the conversation. We'd love to go over and hear it, no matter if you're coming from Facebook, from YouTube, from Periscope, and also from Twitch. Once you go over and click on StreamYard and put there the comments, you can go over and put a comment, and we'd love to go over and connect with you. So this is the time for open questions. So let's go check the comments. All right, so we'll give it about another 30 seconds. So if you're writing and typing, we totally understand. Take that banner out. So again, you can just put a comment in any of your social medias. Once you put that in there, it comes in. We'll go over and answer those questions for you. So. All right. Well, it looks like nobody has any questions. I know it's Friday evening, so take that time to go over and to have a wonderful Valentine's Day, balancing out having good times in the bedroom and also having good times in the living room, because it's President's Day the next day. So we hope you have a great 3-day weekend. We are always here for you. If you guys are struggling in any of the rooms, bedroom, living room, or boardroom, we'd love to go over and serve you. 20 minutes is free for every single military, veteran, and first responder. And we also want to go over and thank our sponsors for going over and continually endorsing and getting this podcast out. So thank you.
Millions of men and women have served this great country. However, over 40,000 veterans sleep on the streets every night. 20 veterans commit suicide on any given day. Veterans have been left without medical services while they suffer from mental illness and addiction. They are dying alone. Join Armory Dog and the Veterans Project to help serve this forgotten community of heroes. Veterans is a place for our men and women who have served our great country, giving them a place to stay and rehabilitate in a safe and positive environment. Please help support the Veterans Project so that these men and women can get back on their feet and find their purpose for living. The Veterans Project will house 10,000 veterans, getting them off the streets, back into society, and utilizing their skills as they once used to serve our great country. Veterans Not Forgotten.